I'm Rachel.
And I'm Julia.
And today we're here with Mr. Shai Altman. He's the current president and CEO of McCain Foods Canada and the former president and CEO of Wrigley's Canada. McCain's Food is a Canadian multinational company offering a wide range of products, including their world-famous fries. And Mr. Altman has generously agreed to answer our questions, and we are so grateful to be here.
Great to have you here.
All right, so are you ready for some questions?
Sure.
So the first is, what motivated you to pursue this career path?
So, frankly, I actually just stumbled onto where I am. I never planned to sell French fries or chewing gum as an aspiring child. I actually answered a newspaper ad that had an international company looking for salespeople, and I decided international sounded very interesting to me, and I decided to apply, and I joined Wrigley about 25 years ago as a sales rep in far away in Israel, and I climbed the ladder since then to several awards in sales, then marketing, consumer marketing, ended up running the Israeli business for Wrigley, then moved to India to run the Indian business for Wrigley, and from India moved to Canada to run the Canadian business for Wrigley, and about a year and a half ago I moved to McCain to join the McCain team in Canada.
Wow. So you've, yeah, so you've definitely traveled a lot. So can you describe any risks your company took and how you helped to manage them, or do you see any value in taking risks?
Yeah, so if you don't take risks, you don't really progress. It's a critical piece of growing a business and doing business. Think of it as if you want to win the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you're never going to win the lottery. So you have to take risks. It needs to be measured risk, and you need to make sure you know what you're doing, but you have to take risks in order to succeed in business.
Could you give any examples of risks that you took?
Examples of risks that I took. Why? I'd say from a career standpoint, moving to India is a risk that I took. It wasn't on my top list of places I would want to move, and I didn't think of that as a part of my career ladder and career growth. But once the opportunity came up and I was offered the job, it sounded like an interesting career path, and I decided to take it. I'm definitely not sorry about it. It was a great experience, a great learning experience. I could say that is one personal risk I've taken. I moved with a family, two small young kids, into a very different market, very different environment, and it was very rewarding.
Yeah. So in your opinion, how big of a role do traits such as determination, innovation, and creativity play in the success of a businessman or an entrepreneur? And what other traits make a successful business person in general?
Wow. I'd say determination is very important. Creativity is very important. What was the other one? Innovation is very important. But all in all, I think in the end of the day, it's about the team that you gather around you and you work with. You don't necessarily have to have all of them, but you need to be able to accept them from other people and make sure you surround yourself with people that have all those traits. As a leader specifically, you want to make sure that you have those in your team in order to be successful. You don't necessarily need to be the best innovator, but you need to have someone who can think in a very innovative way. You need to have someone who's very creative, and you need to have a lot of determination across the team to drive that.
Okay. So what marketing tactics or campaigns did you find most successful in marketing your brands at McCain's or Wrigley's, and why do you think so?
So that's a good question. I think in the end of the day, the biggest secret in marketing is to offer the consumer something that they need, and something either they know they need, or either is something that they learn to know that, oh, how did I ever live without that thing? So in the end of the day, the best marketing campaign is something that tells your consumer about your product, your brand, that they didn't know before, and they would now find out and make sure that they go and buy that. So I think that's, in the end of the day, it's answering or giving that solution to the consumer of something they were looking for.
Okay. So what do you think is like, I'm not aware to answer it, but what do you think is like the most important part of food marketing? Or what message you want to get across?
In food marketing. So I'd say a few things. So in terms of food marketing, the most important thing is to make sure that you're on trend with what the consumer is looking for. The health trend is very, very important in our industry now. The fact that consumers are now much more involved and are much more concerned and are much more interested in what they actually eat and put in their mouth and stomach. To that end, we've been doing a lot of work at McCain to make sure we drive the health benefits of our products. We had a campaign around "It's All Good," so we've reformulated our entire portfolio to make sure that we have a clean ingredient list. We exited completely from trans fats in our fries. We are trying to make sure we are fitting our products and our brands to what the consumer is in need of and is desiring of.
Okay, so we know that you're really passionate about this career path. So do you think more teenagers should be considering entrepreneurship and business as a future career path?
Yes, absolutely. I think of course, it's very personal, and everyone has their own personal direction and what they're passionate about. I think pursuing your passion is a critical element. If you're not passionate about something, you're not going to be at your best. So if your passion is around business, if your passion is around entrepreneurship and innovation, you definitely need to pursue those things in that career. But I think it's very personal. If someone has a passion around music, they should probably pursue their music passion and find the right way for them to get to eternal fulfillment in their life and their career.
What kind of personal benefits have you seen from this?
Personal benefits?
From going for the career path of business?
So, I'd say, I think I said it in the beginning, I've never thought that I would end up in Canada. I never thought that I would end up selling French fries and deep and delicious cakes and pizza pockets and all those things. But through entrepreneurship, through my desire to grow and develop, I've actually went and accepted a lot of things that I would probably not accept if I wouldn't have been prepared to take those risks and take on roles that I wasn't sure I'm actually capable of doing. And I've done a lot of learning and development, personal learning and development as I grew and I developed my personal career. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Because you worked in so many different countries, did you find like different business environments in each of like, the countries you worked in?
Yeah, absolutely. Every market is very different. Every culture is very different. Being an expat or a foreigner in those markets, I had to make sure I adapt myself. It's harder to get everyone to adapt to me, so I had to adapt to the different cultures and environments. The markets are very different. India is a developing market. At Wrigley, we had something like 3 million different retail outlets that were selling our products. You come to a place like Canada, you have maybe 50,000. So it's a very, very different business model, very different retail environment. And being adaptable is very, very important when you move in different markets. The big benefit that you get from traveling into different markets and doing different functions within a business, like a sales, a marketing role, an HR role, a finance role. Every new role that you take on yourself gives you another lens to look at things, and it means that you do the next role in a much better way because you bring into this, oh, you know, if I was in marketing and I was about to sell this to a customer, I would have done it in a different way. So having that multifunctional experience helps in driving a better decision making, making sure you're more rounded as a businessman.
Okay, so a lot of kids at our school are really interested in business. So what kind of advice would you give to someone who's an aspiring business person?
I'd say first thing is be humble. Make sure you remember where you came from, and you don't. You try not to forget the past and where you came from. The other thing I would say is probably listen more than you speak. There is a reason why we have 2 ears and only one mouth. It's very important to make sure you listen. The Dalai Lama once said that when you speak, you actually repeat the things you already know. But when you listen, you might learn something new. So I'm a very big fan of that quote, and I think it's a very important lesson for everyone to know, to make sure you listen to others, get the perspectives from everyone else, and get some learnings before you make decisions, before you make some judgments.
On that note, we would like to thank you for your time, and we'd like to thank you for having us here. We really enjoyed asking you all these questions and hearing on your insight for all these questions.
Yeah, we know that your advice would really help a lot of people who are interested in becoming someone like you in the future.
Great. You're more than welcome. Thank you very much.